Hello everyone, welcome to the Tim Booker channel. I wish you a pleasant listening experience. Today, the book I'm going to interpret for you is How to Control Your Anger. Almost everyone has experienced that feeling of being wrapped in anger, where you feel like you're about to explode, unable to do anything except being angry. It's as if anger consumes you, leaving you unwilling to engage in anything else. However, anger doesn't just affect your mood, it can also harm your health and severely impact your relationships. In some cases, it can even lead to a series of negative events. For instance, some individuals frequently lash out at their family members over minor issues. As a result, their presence at home becomes a source of anxiety for their loved ones, ultimately leading to divorces. Others encounter frustrations at work but can't express their anger publicly. They might bottle up their anger during the day, causing internal stress, and then find themselves unable to sleep at night due to the accumulated anger. And there are even more extreme cases where individuals carry their anger from the previous day into their morning commute, resulting in road rage incidents and accidents. Such scenarios are not uncommon in daily life. The question then becomes, how can we control anger and reduce its occurrence? This is the central theme of the book we'll explore today. The author of this book is the renowned American psychologist Albert Ellis, often referred to as the father of rational emotive behavior therapy and a pioneer of cognitive behavioral therapy. Some scholars argue that since Romanides, Ellis is the only psychologist to have established his own theoretical system in the field of psychotherapy. Albert Ellis was born in 1913 in Pittsburgh, USA. He was the eldest of 3 siblings, growing up in an unfavorable family environment. His father was frequently away on business, showing little care for him, while his mother was emotionally distant, prone to speaking without listening. Additionally, his parents' relationship was always strained, leading to their divorce when Ellis was only 12. This family atmosphere fueled Ellis's early interest in human psychology. Surprisingly, Ellis's initial aspiration was not to become a psychologist but rather a great novelist. Unfortunately, his literary endeavors did not see much success, except for an article on sexuality that garnered attention and positioned him as an expert in the field among his friends seeking advice. It was at this point that Ellis realized his affinity for psychology paralleled his love for literature. He entered Columbia University to pursue a master's degree in psychology and went on to establish the highly respected rational emotive behavior therapy. The book, How to Control Your Anger, delves into how rational emotive behavior therapy can be employed to manage the negative emotion of anger. I'll guide you through the book by addressing 3 main questions. 1. Why are the conventional methods of anger control generally ineffective? 2. How can rational emotive behavior therapy be applied to alter beliefs and manage anger? 3. What specific techniques are available for anger management? Let's begin with the first question. Why are the conventional methods of anger control generally ineffective? When it comes to anger management, some people might think along the lines of, I've heard many pieces of advice, yet I still struggle to lead a good life. Indeed, we often encounter various methods for controlling anger, some of which even contradict each other. Some suggest venting anger as it arises, while others advocate restraint and avoidance of venting. Some propose leaving the situation when angry and returning when calm. However, Ellis believes that none of these approaches are suitable, as they fail to truly address the issue. Although some methods might temporarily suppress the flames of anger, they do not provide lasting solutions. Therefore, at the outset of this book, Ellis points out 3 major misconceptions about controlling anger. Let's examine them one by one. The first misconception is that venting can control anger. This idea is largely influenced by Freudian psychoanalysis. Counselors of this school of thought believe that if anger isn't expressed, it accumulates over time, transforming into negative energy that can lead to illness or emotional disturbances. Therefore, psychoanalysts advise directly expressing anger to prevent internal harm. However, Ellis contends that venting anger not only fails to help but can potentially cause greater harm. On one hand, anger triggers internal mechanisms that can lead to arterial damage and even heart disease. On the other hand, whether expressed verbally or through actions, venting anger usually doesn't leave the recipient unaffected. If the recipient responds with their anger, it often escalates into more anger and potentially violence. The second misconception is that pausing when angry can be effective. This anger management technique suggests counting to 20 or taking a walk to calm down when angry. Ellis acknowledges the value of this approach in allowing individuals to regain their composure, preventing harm to themselves and others. However, he points out two significant drawbacks as long-term anger management strategies. Firstly, it encourages avoidance of emotional issues and sidesteps learning effective emotional management methods. Secondly, it leads to evasion of the problem itself, rather than addressing it. For instance, if you're arguing with your partner and you merely pause and walk away, it might alleviate the immediate anger to some extent. However, the underlying issue remains unresolved. The third misconception is that insight into the past can control anger. Each person's growth is inevitably influenced by their environment and past experiences. For example, witnessing child abuse might trigger stronger anger in individuals who have experienced abuse themselves compared to those who haven't. Some counselors believe that gaining insight into past experiences can help visitors identify the roots of their current anger. However, Ellis believes that while such exploration might be interesting and enhance self-awareness, it merely helps you find the reasons for your anger. It doesn't truly prevent you from becoming angry. He gives an analogy: imagine hiring a tennis coach to learn to play tennis. The coach tells you that your grip and swing are influenced by your sister and the way you hit the ball is learned at the gym with classmates. Will this knowledge actually help you become a better tennis player? Of course not. Alright, this concludes the explanation of the first question I've presented to you. Why are many common methods of anger control not advisable? So, what kind of methods are actually effective? This leads us to the second question, which is also the centerpiece of this book: how can rational emotive behavior therapy be applied to change beliefs and control anger? Before delving into this question, let's first understand what rational emotive behavior therapy is. Also known as ABC therapy, in this theory, A represents the specific event that occurs, the what happened. B represents the beliefs or interpretations we hold about this event, the how I think. C represents the emotional reaction and behavioral outcome following the event, the how I behave. Allow me to illustrate the ABC therapy with an example that runs through this book consistently and will be mentioned several times later on. Imagine you have a friend named Jack who initially agreed to co-rent an apartment with you, sharing all costs equally, under the condition that you would oversee the apartment's renovation and furnishing. After you've put in significant effort to renovate and furnish the place, Jack informs you that he's no longer interested in renting with you. Your likely reaction would be one of anger. In this example, Jack's agreement and subsequent change of heart are the A, specific events that occurred. Your strong anger is the C, the emotional reaction and outcome of the event. In essence, you feel angry because Jack initially agreed to rent with you but then backed out. This seems reasonable and faultless. However, Ellis contends that we often overlook a crucial variable between the event A and the outcome C, the belief system or B. Every individual possesses a set of personal beliefs that they use to evaluate people and events around them. For instance, if your belief system dictates that someone breaking a promise is utterly irresponsible, then you're likely to become very angry. On the other hand, if your belief system suggests that although Jack's change of heart caused some inconvenience, finding another roommate isn't a major challenge, your mood would likely be less disturbed. Ellis argues that what ultimately determines our emotional reaction isn't the event itself but the event multiplied by our beliefs. We cannot change the occurrence of events, but we can alter our perspective on these events, our belief system. Eleanor Roosevelt, wife of former U.S. President Roosevelt, once said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." This sentiment embodies the core principle of rational emotive behavior therapy: it's not others or specific events making us angry, but ourselves. More precisely, it's our beliefs. Given that beliefs are the critical factor in determining whether we get angry, how do we change our beliefs? This is the core focus of rational emotive behavior therapy. Within this framework, Ellis categorizes beliefs into rational and irrational ones. Rational beliefs generally align with reality and contribute to our well-being, while irrational beliefs often distort our perception of the world. For example, absolutist thinking, making sweeping generalizations, or seeing things in black and white terms are types of irrational beliefs that can lead to emotional distress. To elaborate, consider 4 types of irrational beliefs that commonly lead to anger. 1. You treated me horribly. 2. I can't tolerate your irresponsible behavior. 3. You must not and cannot treat me this way. 4. You shouldn't and can't do this, but you did. Therefore, you're a bad person who deserves severe punishment. These 4 irrational beliefs share a common underlying belief, that others must adhere to a certain standard. Ellis suggests that such beliefs indicate an expectation that others must fulfill all our expectations. When these expectations are not met, anger often arises. Therefore, to fundamentally control anger, we must change our beliefs. We need to transform irrational beliefs that easily trigger anger into rational ones. How can we go about this transformation? Here, I will introduce 2 methods. The first one is cognitive disputing. We can challenge our irrational beliefs by questioning ourselves using methods like why, how, in what way, what evidence, and so on. In Jack's example, you might think that Jack is terrible and treating you unfairly. By using cognitive disputing, you can ask yourself, why must Jack treat me fairly? When you ask this question, you'll realize that Jack treating you fairly and treating you unfairly both have a 50% chance. In other words, Jack doesn't have to treat you fairly. This leads to a more rational belief, it would be great if Jack treated me fairly, but he doesn't have to. This belief aligns more with reality and is less likely to trigger anger. The cognitive disputing example I just gave involves asking, why? Similarly, you can ask yourself, how, what evidence, and other questions. Through these questions, you'll uncover that many of the beliefs you held were wishful thinking and do not match reality. Through disputing, you form more rational beliefs that help reduce anger. If you find cognitive disputing a bit complex or challenging to implement, the second method I'm going to discuss might be more approachable. The second method for transforming beliefs involves adding, it would be best, in front of every should statement. For instance, the belief, my boyfriend should completely prioritize me, becomes, my boyfriend would be best to completely prioritize me. Although only 2 words are added, the new belief becomes more rational and objective. It turns the irrational, must, into a rational expectation. If your boyfriend doesn't fully prioritize you, you'll also find it understandable, realizing he hasn't done anything wrong. This prevents you from feeling outraged and unacceptable over minor discrepancies between your desires and his actions. This concludes the second question I've explained for you. Rational emotive behavior therapy emphasizes that beliefs are the key determinant of whether we become angry. To adopt rational beliefs and overcome irrational ones, cognitive disputing is a vital approach. Additionally, appending, it would be best, in front of certain beliefs helps build a foundation of rational beliefs. How can we go about this transformation? Here, I will introduce 2 methods. The first one is cognitive disputing. We can challenge our irrational beliefs by questioning ourselves using methods like why, how, in what way, what evidence, and so on. In Jack's example, you might think that Jack is terrible and treating you unfairly. By using cognitive disputing, you can ask yourself, why must Jack treat me fairly? When you ask this question, you'll realize that Jack treating you fairly and treating you unfairly both have a 50% chance. In other words, Jack doesn't have to treat you fairly. This leads to a more rational belief, it would be great if Jack treated me fairly, but he doesn't have to. This belief aligns more with reality and is less likely to trigger anger. The cognitive disputing example I just gave involves asking, why? Similarly, you can ask yourself, how, what evidence, and other questions. Through these questions, you'll uncover that many of the beliefs you held were wishful thinking and do not match reality. Through disputing, you form more rational beliefs that help reduce anger. If you find cognitive disputing a bit complex or challenging to implement, the second method I'm going to discuss might be more approachable. The second method for transforming beliefs involves adding, it would be best, in front of every should statement. For instance, the belief, my boyfriend should completely prioritize me, becomes, my boyfriend would be best to completely prioritize me. Although only 2 words are added, the new belief becomes more rational and objective. It turns the irrational, must, into a rational expectation. If your boyfriend doesn't fully prioritize you, you'll also find it understandable, realizing he hasn't done anything wrong. This prevents you from feeling outraged and unacceptable over minor discrepancies between your desires and his actions. This concludes the second question I've explained for you. Rational emotive behavior therapy emphasizes that beliefs are the key determinant of whether we become angry. To adopt rational beliefs and overcome irrational ones, cognitive disputing is a vital approach. Additionally, appending, it would be best, in front of certain beliefs helps build a foundation of rational beliefs. The above are the 4 specific methods for controlling anger: unconditional self-acceptance, rational emotive imagery, shame-attacking exercises, and confidence training. These methods, along with the process of transforming beliefs, collectively work from the 3 aspects of cognitive, emotional, and behavioral aspects, ultimately achieving the goal of anger control. With this, the book on anger control concludes. We've learned that strategies like venting, suspension, and insight into the past are insufficient for true anger management. Ellis's rational emotive therapy emphasizes that irrational beliefs fuel our anger. He has introduced us to specific techniques for changing these irrational beliefs, such as cognitive disputing, enabling us to control anger on a cognitive level. Furthermore, he has proposed 4 methods: unconditional self-acceptance, rational emotive imagery, shame-attacking exercises, and confidence training, for controlling anger. Today, we've covered everything for you. Congratulations on completing another book. We appreciate your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like, and share this valuable knowledge with your friends. Let's combine wisdom and practice, achieve our financial goals, and create a better future together. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.